Quad 6.6. Alright, so there seems to be a pretty serious little hype machine going for these little tiny 2-inch quads. And so I'm throwing my hat in the ring with this SkyRyder 90 frame. This revision is almost final, but I'm going one more because I want to get a little bit more frame stiffness in the cross bracing. But I'll have it up on, I've got the final version submitted to Armatan. So I think that, you know, where this hype is coming from is that these props for these 2-inch props are pretty decent. And because of that, you actually get a decent flying quad. Now, I've got this on the 1102s, which are, and these are like 18,000 kV. So it's a pretty hot, you know, pretty high kV motor. And it gives a surprising amount of performance, albeit at a very, not very, but fairly short flight time, relatively speaking, to what you can get out of bigger props. So, the props I'm talking about are these, you know, the GemFan 2015, the Bi-Blades, oh, puppy there. So these props are just, you know, really nice and well balanced. They're reasonably efficient for, you know, compared to what else has been out there so far. And I was a little bit initially kind of underwhelmed somewhat with this form factor in terms of handling, but lo and behold, put it on a better frame and it suddenly handles a lot better, which is, you know, honestly, that's kind of a lesson I should really know pretty well by now, is if your frame is floppy, you're just not going to get a quad that flies super tight. The stiffer the frame, the better it's going to fly, as long as you can lift the weight. This particular battery I'm flying on, this is the Owline, or not Owline, sorry. Tattoo R-Line. So this is a 500 mAh cell. But what's kind of interesting about the cell is that the weight of it is sort of more along the lines of like the 600 from the G&B. And so it does perform well. And you can actually fly, you can actually use this cell to power the 3-inch with the 1203s, you know, reasonably well. But part of that is just, you know, it's a pretty big cell. It's bigger than the equivalent rated G&B, and it flies that way. It's got better power. So if you take the G&B 500 and compare it to this R-Line 500, the R-Line is going to do better as long as you have the quad that can lift it. So I think that's going to be a pretty big question as we move to the smaller motors when those come out, because that's where the hype seems to be, is the 1002s. You know, the Angry Dawn kind of has been pushing, and I'm curious to try them. I honestly think they're going to be underpowered, because for me, what kind of makes this quad kind of interesting is that it's teeny tiny small, but it's actually got enough power to do the true acro flying. And I'm skeptical unless you really manage your weight really well. Like, for example, if you go all out and run like that Canon Nano 3 camera, and make sure that your canopy and everything else is super light, I'm kind of skeptical that this thing was going to be able, I think my battery's done here. I'm skeptical that you're going to be able to freestyle as well as this quad does with the 1102. So 3.5, you can see just short of 4 minutes. Let's pop another cell in, keep flying. All right, so I just popped in a G&B pink label 520, and we'll give this a little cruise here. So yeah, these motors, these are the HGLRC AOS 1102s. And I really wish we had a like 55 millimeter prop, or even 65, to ring these out on, because they manage these props really well. But you basically pay for it with the flight time a little bit, which is, I guess, at the end of the day, it's okay. It's fine. I mean, it's just going to be, the quad's going to be hard on batteries, and it is what it is. I do like the form factor in terms of the maneuverability. I don't like this camera position with this BI camera. I'm just not a fan. I like my camera down lower, and I think if anything, the way I would build this one up would be really how Angry Don's got it set up with the with that diamond board, so that you do. Sorry, I'm having a hard time speaking while trying to nail those lines there. Using that diamond board that Angry Don came up with, and using that low-mounted camera, you know, which you have the room for because of that board shape, where the camera kind of sits down in front of the board. That's how I'd build this up, rather than this big old tall BI camera. But this build is really easy this way, though, because, you know, the BI cameras I saw on UV-Drone, they're selling them like 10 for $10, something ridiculous like that. So, you know, it's a cost-effective way. I just don't like the camera position. I find it kind of hard to fly. Harder. It's not hard to fly, it's just harder. But yeah, so in those motors, those are going to be interesting. So we know of the RCN power, the 1002s. Those are going to be available in several KVs. Those are going to have the 3-hole mount, which is basically your traditional whoop style, which I agree with. I think Angry Don with the T motor is pushing the M2 on a 9mm, so the whoops are on M1.4 with 6.6mm, and the regular 4-hole is an M2 on 9mm. And the thing about that is that it just leads to one more like kind of standard problem. You know, I think most people that building these are basically like converting whoops, and so I'm kind of inclined to say leave this on the whoop mount, even though I think it's not the right mount for this. I think for compatibility issues, you know, do you really want to have to deal with two different mounts on effectively the same type of motor? And you know, on a 1002, that quad's going to be so light. You know, I think every gram is going to matter, and so you know, I don't know. There's something to be said for the weight there too, where maybe that's something you're going to factor in. Let's see. This battery looks to be about done. Should I keep it going? Should I call it here, or should I throw in another battery? Switch off here if you're done listening to me. I'm going to throw in another battery and keep talking. Alright, so that was 319. So with the first R line, we got close to 4. Then with the GNB pink label, 530, we got 319. Obviously it bumped up, so there was some room to fly it further, but it starts getting lame as that battery sags. I've got another R line here, so another tattoo. Let's see what we get out of this one. So these tattoo batteries, I like the shape of them. They're a little bit more like kind of squat, and I like that weight distribution better. And we'll see how they hold up long term. But the one issue with them being kind of that squatter shape is that they don't fit in my whoop. So the whoop frame, I've got that Mobula 7 frame, and the 450s and the 5... Uh-oh. Did I get lucky? I did. Oh, got out of there. Sweet. So the 530s fit in the whoop frame, but these don't, and that's unfortunate, because one of the things I'm really thinking about with this build is that trying to minimize how much like specialty stuff you need. And so I kind of think, although I like this tattoo battery, not being able to fly it in my whoop is sort of a bummer, and I don't necessarily want to have to buy like 2 different sets of batteries. I'd rather just be able to do like one set of batteries and not have to have 2 different things. Now, obviously, if this is primarily what you're doing, you're flying a ton of it, what's the big deal? It's probably not, but I've got so many different quads and so many different sets of batteries, I'd really like to consolidate if it was possible, and this R line, unfortunately, just doesn't achieve that goal. Sorry, my dog is trying to get in there, scratching at the door, so that's what that funny little noise is, if you can hear it. Oh, barely made that one. Yeah, so this is what I mean, honestly, this is pretty impressive for a 2-inch. Like, this is a tiny little quad. You know, it's not going to hurt anybody, but you know, it's just flight time we kind of pay for having such a small quad, which is fine. I do want to build this up different though. I was going to throw the Nubidrone Goober canopy on it because I like the aesthetics of that one better, and it gets the camera just slightly lower. The problem is these old Kebab spec Tune RC1S boards, they've got the USB pointing up because that's how Bob designed his toothpick frames, and then now we throw it on a different quad and we're stuck not being able to throw the canopy we want on it. I could go ahead and pull everything off, strip it, and rebuild it with that plug facing down. Oh dear. Did I get lucky again? No, I didn't. So I could rebuild it, but honestly, I mean, I did enough work on these quads. Like, I don't really feel like doing that just to get a different canopy on here. And that canopy is also, it's heavier. So I'd get a better camera position, but I'd take a little weight penalty. So, unfortunately, no signs yet of, you know, the replacement Tune RC1S boards, because that's really a board I'd like to get going here. So I am kind of, because those Tune RC aren't available yet, and because the option to build with that really low canopy, I am planning on, once they become available, getting one of those Happy Model Diamond boards, an Express LRS one specifically. And probably the way I'll do this one is, ooh, there goes that battery, 350. Alright, let's bring it in. Alright, I'm going to call that, see what it bumps up to, 3 point, yeah, we'll get 3 point, oh, yeah, there it goes, okay, 3.5, got 4 minutes. So on these R lines, we're getting like, so this is a 500 Tattoo R line, and getting about 4 minutes. And you can see on the GNB 530s, you know, we only got, well, like 320. All right. Till next time, cheers.